Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Strikeforce Welterweight Quinn Mulhern. Quinn, how are you?
Good, how's it going?
It's going good. Quinn, you got a fight coming up against David Hewlett at Strikeforce Challengers this Friday night. How's training been going for the fight?
It's been going great. Not a lot of notice for this one, just like my last fight, about 2 weeks. But everything went fine. I trained at Jackson's a couple times a week, and every night at my academy in Santa Fe, and I feel good.
You mentioned not a lot of notice. How long did you have to get ready for the fight?
So, I'm trying to think here. I think I actually got a call about it on November 4th, and pretty much was on by like November 6th. So, that's just a little more than 10 days, like about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks.
Your opponent, David Hewlett, how much do you know about him?
You know, I don't know a lot. I've as I always try and do, I've watched a couple of videos, and you know, his record is about 18-6, and a lot of submission. So, for my impression is that he likes to kind of brawl a little bit, like put the pressure on in the very, very beginning, and try and get it to the ground where he finishes a lot. So that's kind of my impression. I'm not sure how technical the boxing is or the jiu-jitsu, but I think he overwhelms a lot of people.
A majority of his wins are by submission, a majority of your wins are by submission. Do you think that we'll be treated to a lot more stand-up in this fight because of the submission games being so good that they'll cancel out and we'll be treated to a lot more striking?
Yeah, that's an idea. You know, I don't know how it's going to go. I got to see, you know, kind of what energy he gives in the beginning, and if I can, I'm going to look to frustrate him on the feet. But you never know; it might end up being something more like a grappling war. I think I can finish this guy, but he's good, you know, and dangerous. You know, I think that's one of those things. You know, you can get finished by this guy, but I think I do still have the edge on the ground.
For the people who maybe have never heard of you, never seen you fight, any of that kind of stuff, how did you get started in MMA?
Nothing too eventful, really. I've been doing jiu-jitsu since I got out of high school, and never really thought about fighting. And I ended up in Santa Fe at an academy there, and there were basically a small team, about 3 or 4 guys getting ready for fights, and I was gonna kind of help out and help them train, just to see what it was like. And basically, all 4 got injured or sick. Something happened, and the coach kind of asked me to step in and take one of the fights, and so I said yes, you know, kind of as a lark, you know, and it's just been going from there.
You fought in King of the Cage. You were the welterweight champion. You were very dominant in that promotion. What fight stands out to you the most as your best performance, whether it be as champion or leading up to getting a title shot? What was your best performance in your King of the Cage career?
I think the most important performance, at least for me, was against Rich Clemente, where I was coming off a loss. It was kind of a do-or-die situation, and I got that call last minute too. I'd been preparing for a fight, but not with him, and my opponent got switched to Clemente, and I was able to actually finish him in the second round, and that was a big deal at the time for me and for the people involved in the promotions, you know, just to believe in me and see that I could do something like that.
When you vacated the title to come to Strikeforce, did you have to give the belt back, or did you get to keep it?
You know, I never got a call. Maybe I was supposed to give it back, but I never did. And no one's told me, so I still have it.
And when you unified the world title with the Canadian title, did you get that belt too?
I didn't get a belt, you know. That is a long story in itself. I'm not really even clear on the details right now, but it's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. But I didn't get a second belt.
Your 2 losses in your career, one against Jason High and one against Mike Guyman. What did you learn from those 2 fights?
Against Mike, I'd say it really changed my mental game after that. Trying to deal with a lot of the anxiety and pressure, and getting that under control, so that was like a part of my training. Where I just, went with the flow and tried to do my best. But since then, I've tried to work a lot more on my mind and how I actually go into these fights and what I do mentally to prepare. With Jason High, really it's just he exploited a weakness with my wrestling. That's all there is to it. He was much better in that department that day, and I think it's something I've been trying to work on since as much as I can. Becoming a more complete grappler. I guess I've always been good at the submission game, but that's just a game that's so necessary and just complex. So yeah, that's I guess what I've learned from both of those.
This fight on Friday, I think he's only about 5'10", you're 6'3". How much of an advantage will that be with your reach, and if it does go to the ground, maybe a triangle, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the reach has always been an advantage. Against Jason, I'd say that's the one place where it was a disadvantage. I was like punching over the guy's head, and he had such a good double leg that it was like, it almost made it a disadvantage for me to be tall. But most of my fights, it's been an advantage, both on the ground and on the feet. So I think I'll have that here with this guy.
When you moved over to Strikeforce, the first fight, it was supposed to be on the undercard. It got bumped up because of some injuries, the fight with Jason High. Last time out for Strikeforce Challenges, you fought on the undercard, and now this fight is going to be on the non-televised undercard. Is it kind of a lateral step or a step up being in Strikeforce? Because if you were still with King of the Cage, you'd be main eventing a lot of these shows. Is it an improvement for you, do you feel?
That's a good question. I guess what I'd say is that I kind of got to the top of the pile with King of the Cage, and it was good for a while, but they had a HDNet deal that ended up not really working out in the end, and that provided a lot more money just because it was on TV. And when that went away, it felt like there was really nowhere else to go with them, and they were actually really good about the whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. I guess what I say is that Strikeforce is potentially a step up. It hasn't been really a step up yet, but I think it could be, and that's the whole idea, that there's not a ceiling.
Quinn, I don't remember what season of The Ultimate Fighter it was. It might have been the one where Brock Lesnar coached against Junior Dos Santos. Did you try out for that season, or am I just thinking of a different season?
The only Ultimate Fighter I tried out for, I can't even remember which one now. It was back in, I think 2007, and that was, the tryouts were in Boston. It was for a 155er show.
Oh.
But it was a while back. I haven't tried out for it since.
Because I read somewhere on the internet that you tried out, but maybe I'm just hearing stuff. But
yeah, no, that didn't happen. I haven't. In fact, I think when those tryouts were available, I was still under contract with King of the Cage and wasn't allowed to do that. Basically, I think that's one of the reasons I didn't end up trying out. But yeah. Yeah,
because I just saw that on I can't remember what website it was that they said you tried out, and I thought with how good of a role that you were on, that I thought you would have been a shoo-in to be on that season, but I guess it was just a rumor.
Yeah, there's some regrets and just some bad timing sometimes with things where if I'd been free and out of contract, I would have absolutely done it, but you can't always time things perfectly, but yeah, that's just a rumor. Sometimes things get mixed up. Like, I think on Wikipedia for a while it had me fighting out of Canada. I don't know, things aren't always correct. So.
The Strikeforce contracts, I don't know how much you can tell me about them, but now that they're under Zuffa control, are you exclusive to Strikeforce?
Yes, absolutely. And there's not really too much more to it than that. I think everyone's waiting for February when Showtime is slated to re-up or not, and we just kind of have to play that waiting game until then.
How many fights do you have left with Strikeforce?
Including this one, two more.
And is it crunch time right now? Is it like these next couple fights are really going to be the most important ones of your career because, you just look at the UFC's roster. It's a numbers game. There's not a lot of spots available. Do you feel that you need to do a lot more to secure a spot with the UFC?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that's on everyone's mind a little bit, but for when actually preparing for a fight, it just can't really be on your mind. I think you just gotta try and win and beat the opponent right in front of you. That's you can't think about the whole political landscape or what your next job is. Otherwise, it just clouds things. So I'm hoping for the best. But yeah, these fights are obviously important.
And for whatever reason, I don't know if it doesn't work out with Strikeforce. Are you still on good terms with King of the Cage? So if something happens, you could go back with them. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'm on very good terms with them. Honestly, I don't know if things fall through. There's maybe other options besides King of the Cage, but I really can't say what those are right now, and I'm just trying to do one thing at a time.
Right. Quinn, prediction for the fight against David Hewlett?
I want to be able to finish this fight in the second round.
Quinn, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank? Anything you want to say to the fans?
No sponsors for this fight, but just obviously a thank you to my teammates and everyone in my life. They know who they are, who support me and help me through this. And I don't have a lot of fans yet. It's been fun, doing this whole thing and having this job. So I'm really thankful for it.
Quinn, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck at Strikeforce Challengers this Friday night against David Hewlett.